And here we go. Man. Man, I feel like I literally just witnessed probably one of the greatest cartoon episodes put together that I've seen in either forever or a very, very, very long time. Of course, I'm talking about Invincible, the final episode of, I believe this is season 3, called, I believe it's called I Wish You Would Shut Up. Of course, for those that's been following the Invincible storyline in season 3, I'm trying to get on the comics. I haven't actually caught up. I'm in the comics. I'm still in volume 1. But this, first of all, let's just pick up the last episode to where Mark had to fight a bunch of multiverse versions of himself. Mark had to attack a bunch of multiverse Viltrumites, which is, of course, versions of himself. That in itself was amazing, to go on basically 3 days of terror and having other heroes come in and help save the day. Was amazing to watch. I love the different Mark characters. Angstrom Levy, played by, of course, my guy Sterling K. Brown. Great job as always, as far as him just coming back and him just, and I'm speaking of Sterling K. Brown playing the character, but Angstrom Levy, of course, no one likes that character, but he's very resilient. Of course, they showed him coming back, and of course, at the very end of that episode, being told that, by the Hellraiser type figures, being told that, we got work for you to do. We ain't saving you unless we do that. And then, of course, the fight with his multiverse, versions of himself. After 3 days, I believe a week passed, and he was out in the city trying to help put together the city or put it back together. And then you have Conquest, who shows up. And Conquest immediately says, I believe he says, prepare for my arrival, worm, or something of that nature. Prepare for my arrival, worm. And I'm like, immediately I hear Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and I'm like, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. And at first I was thinking, like, I didn't like Jeffrey Dean Morgan playing Conquest. I think I wanted an older guy to play Conquest, like the guy from, the guy from Avatar, the Colonel. He played in Don't Blink, or not Don't Blink, but the movie where he played a blind man chasing the people in the house. I forget his name, but I feel like that is more of a Conquest type of voice. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan coming into the final episode, man, again, I'm speechless. Let me see how I want to even address this or attack this episode. Man, this is crazy. So, of course, the episode comes on. It shows you previously on. It shows you the fight, everything that led up to it. And it does show you, of course, Eve, of course, her leg broke, her in the hospital. And yeah, immediately, of course, Conquest, looks like a strong Viltrumite. He's there to make, Mark bow down. And the moment the episode kicks off, we get hit, it ends with them flying at each other, about to punch each other. It starts with them actually flying at each other and connecting and punching each other, which causes a shockwave that goes not only through the buildings, the glass in the city, but it goes through the people. They're getting blown back. So immediately once it starts, I noticed that, again, it reminds me of Naruto. When Naruto went into the final battle with Sasuke, you could tell where the animation budget goes. The animation budget goes towards the smooth motions and just, crazy. And I'm thinking, like, how can they top what's come before? And again, one of my favorite episodes before this episode, as far as any cartoon, just in general, was the I believe it's the last episode of season 1 where Nolan, of course, takes Mark through the subway holding his head. The fight, I think that fight was the last, either it was the last episode or the episode before the last. But in season 1, that is first and foremost the fight with Mark and his father, Nolan, Omni-man. That right there was already epic. You know, I'm like, I don't know how it could be. That's what got me hooked on Invincible throughout. Well, actually, what got me hooked on Invincible was the first episode, Nolan killing the Guardians of the Globe, whatever. That had me hooked. But that last episode said, okay, I'm buying the comic. I bought the comic, the volume 1, the whole big version of it. Only read a couple of pages and get through it. I'm not a physical reader like that. I'm rereading the comic now, but I'm actually going through a digital copy of the comic. But this episode definitely gave those vibes, man. Again, the animation kicked up to where Conquest, you don't even know how powerful he is. It seems like he's torn. It seems like Mark has the upper hand. Mark is, of course, fighting him, getting a few punches in. Conquest is taking those punches. He's already bleeding. His teeth are a little jagged from Mark punching him. And you're thinking that Mark has the upper hand. And Conquest, even though he says, you know, I'm just, you know, he don't says I'm torn with you. He's like, let's just make it a good fight. That he's here to, you know, he doesn't want him to surrender. He wants him to resist. Just their fight alone, once, of course, Mark knocks him into space, he spits out blood, turns it into a heart while it's, you know, it's, of course, it's in space, so the blood is, you know, the blood is just floating like a bubble. He turns the bubble into a heart, kisses it off or pushes it off, and then flies into Mark and, you know, Mach speed gets him back down to Earth. And right then, I think he tells him, like, is that all you got? Because this is about to be a hard fight. And man, just the dialogue between the fight, as far as Mark, you just know he's up against something that he's never had to been tested on before. And I'm actually curious of, like, man, how is he going to beat this guy? Because Mark's powers are finite. He has superpowers, but he's set to just basically flying and super strength. He has no, like, even Superman has super breath, X-ray vision. Mark just literally has flying super strength. That's it. And of course, I guess he could recover more quickly, but he's not invulnerable. His skin does break. His bones do break. Teeth does break. I mean, you know, his head could get squashed. So I'm thinking, like, this guy has enough power to really, you know, end Mark. He has enough power to end Mark. So he looks, of course, as he's fighting you, of course, Mark's brother, Oliver, he wants to jump in the fight. Of course, his mom doesn't stop him, says, you know, just stay quick, stay moving. Don't let him catch you, because you got to send somebody out there. Again, I believe all the Guardians of not the Guardians of the Globe, but all the superheroes, just this ain't a fight for them to even. Mark is the only person who could really touch him, so they don't even join the fight. But Oliver is probably the next strongest, as far as he is half Viltrumite as well. So Oliver does, of course, fly to the scene, save Mark as he's getting choked. And immediately Mark is like, get out of here. And I'm saying the same thing, like, Oliver, get out of here. You're so rambunctious. You're such a kid that you don't even know what you're dealing with, to where he will snap you in half. And Oliver doesn't listen. Of course, Mark has to, you know, actually get beat even worse. Man, this is crazy. Again, I'm just trying to collect my thoughts on it all. You know, Conquest focuses on Mark and Invincible, and man, he's just doing a number on him. I'm talking about, this is before they get to, like, Hawaii. He's just doing a number on him, and then, of course, Oliver jumps back in and, you know, kicks him, and he says, hey, I'm gonna go and, you know, eat your heart, whatever. And I'm thinking, like, you know, Mark's not gonna let him even touch Oliver, but he slaps Mark out the way, to where he grabs Oliver and he starts stretching him, stretching his legs, stretching his body, starts explaining to him about how his organs are going to come out of his body, how his skin, how his vertebrae is going to break, how his skin is stretching, and he wants to keep him woke long enough to feel the pain before he passes out. And Oliver's just crying, you know, and Mark, of course, is more ticked off, comes in and saves him. And as Mark is trying to fight him, of course, Cecil steps in, takes Oliver back to the spot, comes back. Adam Eve wants to, of course, join the fight. She has a prosthetic leg because her leg got broke. Or not, I'm sorry, it's not a prosthetic leg. It's just, of course, she had a cast on her leg, but it's a robotic leg, whatever, because her leg got broke. So she wants to join the fight. Cecil tells her not to go. She's like, I'm going anyway. And, man, Conquest takes Invincible, what seems like Hawaii, and you get a scene probably worse than what Nolan did with the subway, because this is pure power. All Nolan did was hold Invincible, Mark, his son, head through the subway and just let people die. Conquest flies Mark through a packed city, flying through bodies where not only he's flying them actually through the bodies, but the speed at which he's taking them rips the bodies in half, like just flying through them. It's like a Mach 5 speed, rips the bodies in half, like insane. And the fact that they even focus on a kid holding his mother's hand and the kid's arm just coming off, you know he's dying. You know he's losing blood. I'm like, the fact that they're showing kids in this type of damage, I'm just like, wow. What I'm watching the whole time and I'm just speechless. I can't even eat. And mind you, to watch this finale, I went to the movies and bought popcorn. They looking at me crazy. I went to the movies to buy popcorn. Told them, can I get a large bucket of popcorn to go? They're like, what? They're like, yeah, man, please. Hold on, here we go. Yeah, there you go. Large bucket of popcorn to go. And shout out iPick. If y'all never been to iPick, go to the iPick. But they wrapped it in plastic for me. Large bucket of popcorn to go. Because this is like, I knew this was going to be good. It was this and Severance. I'm like, I need to watch the two finales. But anyway. So for Mark and Conquest to be there, and then Adam Eve shows up to try to save Mark. And I'm thinking, like, what is Adam Eve going to do? The fact that she couldn't even fight a weaker Invincible from another dimension. Another dimension. What is she going to do against Conquest? I'm like, she once again is in over her head. I'm thinking, like, is she going to play smarter? She keeps building these blocks, like the blocks for Conquest to punch her. I'm like, you got to get smarter. So as she's throwing things at him, hitting him with, like, matter, axes made of matter and stuff, or, tomahawks or whatever she's hitting him with, she does make the air around him denser. I said, oh, that's smart. She makes the air around him denser, and then, of course, it makes him not being able to move as quick. I don't know how far that power could go, but it doesn't go quick. And I'm like, she has to get further away to use these powers against Conquest. He will kill her. So, of course, I'm watching, she's doing as much as she can. She's trying to, of course, squish him and do all the stuff that I know he's going to break at him. All this stuff is not going to kill him, even though she's making giant cinder blocks, what Green Lantern would do, and trying to crush him. That's not going to work. So she, of course, puts her armor around her body. Helmet, everything. And I'm like, what is that going to do? You know what I'm saying? And this, of course, happens before she turns to air dance. But I'm just even seeing her do that. I'm like, what is that going to do? So, of course, Conquest, man, this is just good TV, man. Conquest ends up blocking all that. He ends up knocking her powers off one piece at a time. Leg, arm, headbutts her, breaks her helmet. And then one punch from his mechanical arm breaks her jaw open. Whole side of her face. From here on, gone. Second punch with his bare hand strikes her in the stomach, all her intestines flying out, lets her fly. And I'm like, Mark, and mind you, during this fight, he breaks Mark's leg. While Mark is trying to save Adam Eve, he just breaks Mark's leg where his femur is like poking out of his thigh, whatever. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm not his thigh, but his leg, his shin. I'm like, man, this is just crazy, man. This is just crazy. So Adam and Eve, of course, she's falling. She's crying. Mark jumps, saves her. He starts crying over her. And I'm like, bro, she's going to die. And he starts screaming for Cecil to come. And I'm even wondering, where's Cecil? Cecil, come get her, save her. Cecil doesn't come. And Adam and Eve, she dies right there on the spot. She's lifeless. And therefore, that put Mark and of course, it makes him enraged. He goes at Conquest. Unfortunately, no, the punch that he goes through does, of course, break through his metal arm. And Conquest, this is a metal arm where he breaks that arm off. I'm like, okay, Mark, you're doing something. But that also in turns break Mark's arm. So I'm like, oh man, now you got one leg, one arm, but he's still gonna keep up with him. He's still fighting. I'm just like, this is just too much, man. Because Conquest now, of course, only has one arm. Conquest, of course, starts speaking to him, and then it looks like Eve started to regenerate as Mark was trying to fight him. She starts to regenerate, and I started thinking like, okay, she is made of matter, so she could probably control the matter of her own body, which of course that's what it was. But Mark loses his senses, looks at her, Conquest, boom, and I think this happened right then. Conquest, of course, starts choking him. There's one part where Mark tries to punch Conquest, and he breaks his hand. He breaks his hand. And again, I'm all out of order with all this. But Adam Eve does regenerate, and she's in some kind of glowing being, and she shoots matter straight at him to where she burns him. So as Conquest is sitting there burnt, you think it's over, and Mark is walking back to Eve. Conquest gets up and says, "You're gonna need more than that." And he's like, Mark is like, "I got a lot more than that. I promise you." And Mark goes in, and I'm sorry. That's when he breaks his hand. Boom, he breaks his hand as he tries to punch him. And then Mark says, I got so much resolve, you don't even know. Or something like that. Where Mark ends up headbutting him. And then, of course, that's where you see Mark headbutting. Like he was doing to Angstrom Levy, but that was more of punching, but he's just headbutting because, he ain't got no hands and he only has one leg. He's headbutting him to where blood is all over his face. Conquest's face is just crushing. I think he asked Conquest, "Do you like that?" And Conquest, his last words were, "I'll take the good with the bad." And I'm like, man, just Conquest dialogue throughout the whole episode, just the things he was saying as far as him leaning down to Mark and whispering to him, just letting him know, like, I'm really alone. Everyone keeps sending me out to all these planets to take over because they're scared of me. No one wants to just get to know me. No one talks to me. And he's like, they made Conquest. He's like, what kind of name is Conquest? They made me a tool of the Viltrumite army. And he's just pouring his heart out to Mark. I'm like, man, this is just great TV. And of course, that's when Mark, of course, as Mark is killing him, he says, how do you like that? He's like, man, I'll take the good with the bad. So Mark crushes Conquest. All of the Guardians of the Globe or whoever, Cecil brings, Robot, everybody else, Monster Girl, they all come. Eve, of course, is naked because she regenerated her whole body. And Mark and her lay down there together, and he says, I love you. And then, of course, they get taken out. Man, it's just such a crazy episode, man. I just have to reflect on it. I'm going to go back and watch it again in a few minutes, but such a crazy episode. This is just a live reaction of it all. But, of course, we lead into what happens next, where, of course, a couple of days later, Mark is there. He's healed up. Eve wants to, of course, she sees him. She loves him. She takes him back to the crib, get him naked. Only has one hand. He has no hands. He only has one leg, but he does have you got it right. The third leg does work. So he's letting that work for him. Him and Adam and Eve. And they're showing a lot of skin in this episode. They're showing a lot of skin. They do their thing. That happens. Some other stuff. Cecil does keep, Mark wants to go see Conquest's body. He wants to make sure he's dead. He sees he's dead. He says burn him. Of course, I already knew once Cecil pulled up and saw that Conquest was laying there, I knew he's grabbing him and doing something with him. Cecil's he's a messed up guy. He's a messed up guy. So I knew he was already going to keep him. So, and I think he either has Cecil's head or his whole body inside the whole containment unit. And he wants him to wake up to tell him about the Viltrumite army. I don't know what Cecil's going to do with that. Conquest is too powerful for that. He would have been better off cutting off his head. But, of course, we'll see if he even wakes up. Oliver, of course, all stretched out. He's feeling good again. Mark does tell him, hey, man, you were right. I should have killed Angstrom Levy. I should have killed the martyrs. I got it. Next time that anybody hurts any of my family, I'm killing them. So boom, there you go. You got Mark kind of leaning towards his evil side, but we'll see how that goes. I thought Nolan was going to come back in this episode. They didn't bring Nolan back. I thought he was going to come back sometime in the show with Conquest. Again, I haven't read the comics, so I don't know how this was going to end. I did see a picture in the comics where Mark and Conquest's arm, he had hit his arm and broke his arm. So I did see that. You have Battle Beast. Of course, last time we saw Battle Beast, he was fighting with Nolan and I forget Alan the alien. He was fighting with them. He pulled one of the Viltrumites out in space to rip him apart, and he's like, I want more. And he was frozen in space. Some aliens found him. He wakes up saying more. Either he wants more of the aliens, or he just woke up and continued with the last thought he had, more. So Battle Beast, one of my favorite guys as far as what he is. Love to see what he does next, because they're all just setting up things for season 4. I'm sorry. They showed a little mind parasite aliens. They've been amassing an army. I think they were in season 1. I think the parasites, maybe season 2, but they're amassing an army, so they're coming back. Mark doesn't have to deal with that. And then, of course, they showed Darkblood. We haven't seen Darkblood since season 1, where he was trying to figure out if Nolan killed the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Cecil does the exorcism and sends him back. So we haven't seen Darkblood since then. I never knew where Darkblood went. He just got sent back to hell, I guess. So we see Darkblood. Sounds like he has a master that is looking to take over his throne, and he says there's a surface dweller that's more powerful. He says his dark heart. So I don't know if he's talking about Mark. I think he's talking about someone else, because he must be talking about Oliver or something. He's talking about something where the power of a potential of a certain player is big enough for Darkblood and this other guy to summon. He said it could be summoned. So I don't know what. Again, I just got confused. I thought they were talking about Invincible. They could have been talking about Oliver, maybe Nolan, but it's a surface dweller, so it's not in the underworld. But we have Darkblood coming back, so I'm excited to see Darkblood back. I still don't know where Darkwing or whatever whoever the Batman dude is, he took one of the Viltrumites into Nightmare City, or whatever it's called, Nightmare City, and we still don't know what happened to him or to them. So we wait to see them come back. Of course, Rex had a funeral. Robot, which I think his name is Robot, but he says Rudy. He's gonna now start calling himself Rex. Everybody, all the Guardians were there and stuff, and team. And then you see Eve actually having a very emotional time with Rex, saying that she really loved him, even though he cheated a lot. He was her first good and bad. So take that however you want to take it, but he was her first. And she tells Mark, I really loved him, and Mark is smiling. And I'm like, Mark, he's a player. So he's like, I'm just, you were dead. You were dead. And you're sitting here talking and still just talking normal with your face normal. That's amazing. So that's when she takes him home to take all his clothes off and do his thing. So anyway, with that being said, this episode of Invincible, the finale of season 3, is probably one of the best cartoon, and not even cartoon, just best episodes I've seen of a season finale in a long time. I'm talking Game of Thrones level. I'm talking Breaking Bad level. I'm talking, what else? Lost level, The Walking Dead level. A full episode where from beginning to end, you get this much action and dialogue. Man, it just did not let up, man. I just have to say, I'm just curious on y'all thoughts, man. Anyone who watches Invincible, please, let's have a conversation. Let's chop it up about it. Hop in the comment section. Tell me your thoughts, man. When do you feel Nolan's coming back? If you haven't read the comics, is he coming back with Alan the Alien? Is Mark going to team up with him to go against the Viltrumites? Is there someone stronger? At the very beginning, they showed, I think his name is General Craig. He has one eye. The Viltrumite that has one eye, who was actually talking to Nolan. He may be the strongest. He doesn't look the strongest, but he may be the strongest. And what also happened to the girl, whatever her name is, Anissa or whatever, she left. And, are they all coming back? So there's a lot of questions. Of course, they set up for season 4. I love the way they always end each season with setups for new villains, or at least they did this for season 1. New villains for season 4. I love the way they did that. But again, one of the best episodes I've seen of anything, ending any kind of season. Again, animation A1, the fight A1. Oh man, it was bloody. It was bloody. Anyway, give me y'all thoughts, man. Let me know how y'all like Invincible season 3. The episode is won't you just shut up, or would you just shut up, or I wish you would shut up, whatever it's called. And man, just give me y'all take on it, man. Just give me y'all take on it. With that being said, make sure you do the thing, man. Hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell for all future videos coming up, man. And again, if y'all are fans of Invincible, hop in the comments and let's have a conversation. How'd you like that finale, man? Let's talk about it.